We're back with Season 5, Episode 3, Castle, Sweet Castle. This is the episode in which Twilight is living in the new Castle of Friendship, and for some reason is very uncomfortable in it, so it's okay. It's okay. She's got friends to help her out who are terrible at their jobs. Wacky shenanigans, zany scheme, and a wah-wah, and we're done. I do like how the cold open has just a little bit of an intro. It just gives you an insight that something's wrong. Which, of course, leads me to Fluffy Angel. He's super fluffy. Shoop, shoop, shoop. So I don't like pancakes. Like, at all. But I will admit, those pancakes look good. Maybe if it was just, cake instead of pancake, I might be more in favor. Or waffles. Convert them from pancakes into waffles. I'm with it. No? Okay. Nice new sets. Some good animation stuff. There's a really cool scene where Rarity holds up a mirror. So the mirror's there and it's highlighted and you can see Rarity. And Rarity's got a good, face going on. Good facial animation. And we see Twilight and Fluttershy in the mirror. It's not super fancy, but there's a lot of little nice animation touches which have been happening this season. I just want to point out one of them that came to mind immediately. So let's just get this out of the way. I'm actually going to add 2 Rarity crushes for this week. Because this is ridiculous. Rarity crush number 1 is the fact that he sleeps with a Rarity doll. Rarity crush number 2 is when she coerces him into doing something stupid by being all batted eyebrows at him. Eyelashes, excuse me. Which admittedly irritates me, as it usually does, but let's not go into that. You ever have one of those things where you're avoiding something that's bothering you by focusing on something else? Not to get too real, but that's every day for me. One of the big things I focus on is my show. I pour a lot of myself into this show in order to get away from a lot of reality. Because I do not have power to affect reality. So, that's a problem. And as I've said many times before, the only defense I have is avoidance. So yeah, I'm kind of with her. I do like the fact that Twilight has the option to do something healthy, right? Something good. She can hang out with friends, she can help them doing chores, that kind of thing, That's a nice touch, because there are plenty of things that people will do that are substantially less healthy and actively horrible to do in order to try and avoid the problems in their lives. Honestly, being an alcoholic is kind of middle ground there. If we're just being completely honest, it goes down from there, you know what I mean? So it is nice for Twilight to be on this. And yeah, Fluttershy being like, can you go? Can you go? I used to be like that. Nowadays, I'm just like, I gotta go. I'm leaving. Bye. Go. But I used to be just like Fluttershy on that thing. It's like, yep, super tired. They'd never take the hint. I do agree that your home is the place you should be comfortable. In fact, it's probably the place you should be most comfortable. Which is one of the reasons it bothers me so much when someone is not comfortable in their home, for whatever reason. There's plenty of reasons for that. You can't afford a nice place, or you have other people there you don't want to live with, or you're in a toxic relationship with your sibling, or your parents, or your children, or your spouse. Maybe it's just a crap place or a crap neighborhood, or you're putting up with it because of your job, or you can't afford to go anywhere else, or whatever, right? There's plenty of reasons. Even for someone who's not in an actually bad situation, there are plenty of reasons why you might not be comfortable at your home. Lord knows I know that problem right now. So yeah, no, it should be comfortable. It should be a place where you are able to be yourself and to be just... We all need a safe zone. I've said that many times. We all need a safe zone. And we all need that one spot where we can just lower the defenses and just be like, okay. And it should be your home, and it usually isn't. What I find kind of ironic about this situation, and maybe this just is just amusing to me, but the Crystal Castle would be pretty much perfect for me. No, seriously. First of all, I'm really big on space. So having lots and lots of rooms and lots of space, yes. Having big open corridors and large open things, absolutely. Having it be cold, oh, yes, God, yes, I don't have to worry about the heat anymore. And it's all made of crystal. God, you know how much fun I have with crystal. That would be a super, super comfortable place for me. Oh, absolutely, Sitcom. There's, oh God, I could think about a lot of stuff. But have to have at least a couple of guest rooms, and just, let's not talk about it. Point being, that place would be awesome for me. Anyways, Morgan animation. I already mentioned that. Cider, that's just cool. There's the rarity doll. Having to poor Spike having to grab the pancakes on the wall. It wouldn't be overwhelming. No. No, I'll tell you what would be overwhelming. Living in a one-bedroom apartment, that would be overwhelming. See, you know what? I don't feel like getting into it. Point being, no, is the answer to your question, SA2K. So let's talk about, like, this is a decent episode. It is. Let's talk about why this isn't a good episode, in my opinion. Problem number one. What they're about to do is a fairly major project, trying to set up and customize a home so it looks comfy. So, why do they set aside one afternoon for this? Remember, initially, they actually set up, they take a day, but, you know, because they have the breakfast and then they finish before sunsets. But they were originally just going to do an afternoon. Why do they set aside an afternoon for a project like this? Problem number two. Zero coordination between them. Now, this is stupid on many reasons, not the least of which the fact that the main six, by Season 5, knows how to coordinate with each other. Especially since Rarity has management experience and can probably coordinate for them. Problem number three. This is, in my opinion, the smallest problem here, but it's the one I hear about the most. It's the one the episode itself picks up. They all pick things that they like, regardless of Twilight. Now, the thing about that is, the reason I call that the smallest problem is because that's completely on brand. That makes sense, actually. In fact, if you were paying attention, that's what they end up doing in the end. It's just rather than all of them dumping stuff into the main room, they each pick a room, and they customize that one little room. So there's little tidbits of her friends throughout the castle. That makes perfect sense. Twilight's thing... Twilight, I mean, don't mistake me, Twilight has more characterization to her than friendship, but Friends is pretty much defined by the people around her, so having a room, each room defined by one of their friends would actually make perfect sense if they had coordinated, and they'd set aside more than one day to do this. The coordination thing I think is the dumbest thing, but I'm getting off topic. Either way, they then decide to go and be idiots, and they do, they pick up the idiot ball. And what I do like about the way they present it is the song has the camera zoomed in consistently. I don't mean figuratively. I mean literally the camera is super zoomed in. So like most of the shots you're seeing are like this. You know, it's just this one fraction of the room. That was very smart because each of the things they're doing kind of works until you see them all together. Then they do the pullback and you see them all together and it's a freaking mess. That's good. That's very good animation, good camera work, good cinematography. This then leads to, well, what people do in general, which is where people will... This is where people will get defensive about their own choices while criticizing each other. I'm sure that sounds familiar. So naturally they get defenses whenever they're criticized, and that leads to their coordination, where each of them will remove one item of their own. That doesn't go anywhere, which leads to them removing one item from someone else, which leads to the pseudo-fight and eventually an empty castle. Good job. Meanwhile, Spike is just... Oh, Spike is awesome, because he just shows like, oh, come on! This is a mess! This is terrible! He's pretty much the straight man of this episode, which is hysterical in its own right. Given something I'm going to complain about in a moment. And even Fluttershy's like, oh, I'm glad someone actually pointed it out. This is when Rarity does the eyelash bat thing, which irritates me. And This leads to the second part of this episode I don't like. I know it wouldn't exactly be a really interesting storytelling, maybe. Actually, I disagree with that completely. But Spike could have just gone to Twilight and said, hey, they're not done yet, so we need to hang out for the rest of the evening. You want to go check out the library? And then they could have gone and had their character moment there. They had to do a wacky scheme. It's straight out of a sitcom. They had to do the wacky scheme and have Spike get the terrible massage that caused him tons of pain because, ha ha, that's funny. And then he had to go and pretend to not have a bed that he needed to sleep in because, ha ha, that's funny. Right? There was zero reason to do the wacky scheme there. You could have just been like, hey, they need more time. Now, Savacom says she likes to think Twilight figured out. And you know what? I could go with that if not for the fact that when Spike flat out says, oh, come on, I delayed her, and Twilight has the reaction, you had to delay me? And that then led to, that leads to, hang on, Warfare Code. Bad timing. That leads to Twilight's reaction of being just like, wait, what? You had to delay me? So, no, I'm not willing to give the episode that. What library? What's left of it, I suppose? Either way, that irritated me. So we've got two things that irritate me about this episode. Having said that, the spa was awesome. I did like the fact that she doesn't even get a name. I looked it up. She doesn't even get a name. But the other spa woman actually gets a line. And bulk biceps is apparently one of the masseuses, which makes perfect sense. You actually, that sounds kind of strange, but you need a lot of upper body strength in order to do a really good massage, especially a deep tissue massage. So it makes sense that someone like him would be down for that. I just wish he'd stop crashing through the walls. Anyways, we also see some really good animation on Spike when he's kind of pseudo 3D as he's cracked and broken and all that. This then leads to them really hammering in the point that they should be trying this across more than one day, because what happens is they're like, oh no, we failed. We don't know our friend, we suck. Which is stupid for two reasons. Reason number one, because the only reason they're so upset is because they've given themselves a terrible artificial time limit of 1 day to decorate a castle. Not letting go of that. And problem number two is the fact that they're giving up after one try. If I was willing to give this episode credit, which for the record I am not, I would say that that is the closest thing to a real message in this episode. Don't give up after your first try. Because that's a good lesson. It is foolish, honestly, just to say that as bluntly as I can, to presume that the first time you try something you're going to succeed. You might. Especially if it's something you're good at. But if you jump into something and then you fail, don't get discouraged and quit. However, once again, I'm not willing to give the episode that level of credit. We are going to get some continuity counters here. I'm going to go ahead and just give 3 for this one. Because we've got the situation in general. Yeah, exactly, Sean. We've got the situation in general. We've got multiple callbacks to previous events, which they actually say out loud. And then they've got the mobile thing, the chandelier. Remember when the library blew up? Pinky. They do specifically mention the sleepover, which was a nice touch. So then Spike comes in and is once again blunt and honest. Thank you. I do also have to admit, I really like the idea of the roots of a tree containing memorabilia of your past. There's something wonderfully symbolic about that. And frankly, artistically beautiful. That's kind of an awesome idea. Kind of infeasible in real life, but very cool for the fiction, for the fantasy setting. You know, the little jewels there and each one. So, oh, sorry, I should update this. Yes, so we are giving the 3 points to the continuity counter, as previously mentioned. There we go. Yeah, exactly, Savacom. It is very Final Fantasy. And yeah, I love Twilight being just absolutely... Oh, that's so awesome. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, each one of them decorates one of the rooms in the castle, which makes perfect sense, because now she has at least one room to remind her of each of her friends. Which, yeah, I'm totally with that. Side note, if I, conquer the world tomorrow, and then make a giant crystal castle on the North Pole, I find myself wondering, if I was to invite, like just idle curiosity, if I was to invite my friends and say, hey, do me a favor and decorate it, based on what you think I want it to be decorated on, I would be very curious what people would do. Because other people don't always know you as well as you think they do. It's just... It would be very curious to see what people come up with. And yeah, I noticed that. Of course, Rainbow would pick the library. She's a Rita. So it makes perfect sense. And the episode ends on a wah-wah. We haven't actually had a wah-wah in a long time. So we are going to go ahead and add the wah-wah there. Well, no, Larian, because I just think that's stupid. I don't know if that's counter-continuity. I guess we could call that counter-continuity. Sure, okay, you talked me into it, Because it is definitely dragging down the score of the episode. Which leads me to scoring the episode. So this is the first episode by Joanna Lewis and Christine Sonko. Not super impressed. There's some good heart and some terrible, terrible execution. Honestly, I'm thinking at most average for me. Because both points irritate me to the point of just dragging this episode down substantially. Frankly, I'm kind of leaning towards below average for this. Like, there are some good moments, and that's what keeps it from being a blue. I don't even know why I'm debating this. I'm just going to give it green. We're going green. We're going green. Green it is. I have had some blues. Season 4, Episode 17, Some Pony to Watch Over Me, by Scott Sonneborn. Season 1, Episode 21, Over a Barrel, by Dave Polsky. Season 3, Episode 10, Spike at Your Service, by Dave Polsky. And that's it. Those are the only blues. Those are the only ones that have gotten really far down there. Nothing's been Lamentation-worthy, which would be a whole new color. If we actually have a Lamentation-worthy episode, that'll be bad. We'll see. Either way, really not impressed with this one. Black. I mean, I guess, yeah. I agree with She-Core. No, Violet is top. Violet is the highest end. Yeah, sure, Act. Hang on. It is right here. I turned it into a spreadsheet online just so you guys can look. And yeah, SA2K has the exclamation MLP command, which also gives a link to it. Keeping track by episode, color, and by author. And by author, I mean writers. Yeah, we've been doing this for over a month at this point. Like, pretty much as soon as we came back, someone was like, "Hey, could you put this online?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so I've just been using the online version ever since. You can see M.A. Larson certainly is an interesting one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 purples, 4 reds, an orange, and then 3 greens. Just all over the place with that one. Or I guess I could just say hit or miss. Megan McCarthy is probably our most consistently good writer so far. No, that was blue. It did get a blue, but it wasn't Lamentation Word. That's Over a Barrel, Season 1, Episode 21 by Dave Polsky. That is probably the worst episode so far, though, for me. Over a Barrel. There was nothing good about that episode, in my opinion. Except for like 2 or 3 little tidbits. Anyways, chopping off